Kamna Maori and Nisambula Vinaka. I'm Katerina Teaiwa, a professor in Pacific Studies in the School of Culture, History and Language in the College of Asia and the Pacific at the Australian National University. I've been teaching and tutoring for over 20 years, since the first year of my PhD in 1999, when I sought out opportunities to contribute to higher education at the ANU and obtain a teaching certificate from our Centre for Teaching and Learning. Earlier this year, I was recognized as the Australian University Teacher of the Year by the Australian Awards for University Teaching and Universities Australia. Receiving this wonderful recognition after 2 challenging years of teaching in a pandemic, moving from face-to-face in field schools to online learning, and balancing all of this from home while homeschooling my children was wonderful and overwhelming at the same time. In the kind of work that I do at the ANU, I represent not just myself and the interdisciplinary field of Pacific Studies, engaging thousands of islands spread across 1/3 of the whole planet, but what I do reflects on many other Pacific communities. I was born and raised in Fiji of Banabin, Kiribati, and that is Tabitawean, and African American heritage, and this year I became the first Indigenous Pacific scholar and first Pacific woman to be promoted to professor at the Australian National University. So because I am Indigenous to the Pacific, any achievements in the academic context inspire pride and recognition in many others, both at home and in the Australian and other diasporas. With all these connections, I'm always trying to balance many spheres of care and commitment in a multi-scalar way, from the personal to the family, my school and college, my university, and communities across Australia, Fiji, Kiribati, Aotearoa, New Zealand, Micronesia, Oceania, the USA, and beyond. In the Pacific Studies courses I deliver at the ANU, I have given students opportunities to connect with Pacific Studies partners and networks across the region to experience critical, engaged, creative, and Indigenous Pacific-centered teaching and learning. I insist on cross-cultural collaborations to foster students' understanding, resilience, and leadership capabilities, ensuring they have a unique and meaningful experience. Students are encouraged to embark on a metaphorical voyaging canoe to gain a sense of the Pacific's vast and diverse social, political, and cultural dimensions, where no one gets left behind. Through my interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, and holistic methods, I've encouraged students to explore Pacific histories, colonialism, activism, regionalism, politics, arts, media, and environments with an understanding of how each facet contributes to Pacific and Australian identities, pasts, presents, and futures. Since 2008, I've worked with many colleagues across various schools and colleges to found and build the ANU Pacific Studies major, minor, and degree. This is the first degree in Pacific Studies in Australia, and we now have a graduate diploma in engaging the Pacific as well. I also convened the innovative Pacific Islands Field School that has traveled to Fiji, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Hawaii, and Palau, and during the pandemic, I began convening the College of Asia and the Pacific student-run international hybrid event, Asia Pacific Week. In these courses, I use diverse and engaging approaches, activities, and platforms, including social media. Throughout my courses, I try to inspire other teachers, policymakers, journalists, and our students to appreciate the knowledges, depths, and strengths of Pacific peoples and islands that represent some of the most resilient and vulnerable areas of the world. My contributions to teaching, learning, and outreach have been recognized through ANU Outreach Excellence Awards, the New South Wales Council of Pacific Communities Outreach and Education Award, the College of Asia and the Pacific's 2019 Teaching Excellence Award, and the New South Wales Pacific Women's Professional and Business Network Educator 2020 Award, and this national award as well. What would I say to future Australian Teaching Award applicants? Teaching isn't always valued in academia or in particular disciplines. The spotlight is often on our wonderful researchers. And yet, teaching has been one of the most fulfilling aspects of my career as a scholar. I would say not to undervalue the incredible opportunity to positively transform minds and hearts through your teaching. This is what I constantly aim for in my classes. We are all on journeys of learning through life, pandemics, climate change, and our institutions. And even when blown off course, we can appreciate the opportunities to find meaning and a sense of purpose along the way. Vinaka Vakalevusara and Kampasin Rapa.